Namo Buddha, Namaste. I'm going to talk about the questions and some of the comments I've received, try and give you some answers, at least from my perspective, my view anyway. It's quite hot in this temple today. It is after, I've had lunch, so it is after 12. Not sure of the exact time. I should pay attention to that. It's 24 minutes past 12. So I haven't turned the fan on. There is an electric fan, but it's not my electricity to take. The monks take the precepts very literally, and the second precept of no stealing is if it hasn't been offered, we don't take it. In this situation where I don't know who pays the bills, I think that's a fair translation or understanding of that rule. Of course, in our own monasteries, we don't go and ask permission every time to turn the light on and off. That would be taking it too far. But this, I don't know who pays the bills here, so out of respect for them, I come and I make myself as invisible as I can do, sitting in a corner away from the comings and goings. It may not appear like that from what you see, but I am very hidden away here, trying to be invisible. So let's look at the questions. Now firstly, I've had a couple of emails. In fact, over the past 3-4 months I've been actually contributing to this channel. And I've continued contributing to this channel because in that 4 months there are now, as of today or now, there's 900 subscribers, and that's quite a few. There are lots of people viewing the videos, watching the videos, and from all parts of the world, not just India, and I receive many very nice, encouraging comments and useful questions that can be aired and can benefit all people watching. So as long as that's the case, I continue to do this. And a few emails, quite often, I'm not going to specify any individuals, but I mean, I think it's fair to say that mostly these emails come from male people, males, men, young men, living, actually I'm not sure exactly always where people are, but mainly young men, presumably because they're addressing them to a monk, but it may apply to young ladies, and those young ladies may wish to address a bhikkhuni, which is a female bhikkhu, if they are, and I would expect them to be a little shy to ask a monk. So I'm kind of addressing this answer to males, but I'm sure there are females with the same issues, and there are bhikkhunis. Search on YouTube for bhikkhunis. It's like bhikkhu, but with knees on the end. N-I-S, I think. It'll come up automatically. But those young men who have contacted me are people, and not so young men, but people in family situations, in lay life, whom are having a hard time. Now, that's a lot of people at the moment. But the ones I'm referring to are the ones who want to run away and become a monk. Now it used to be, back in my childhood, you'd hear the phrase, run away and join the French Foreign Legion. I don't even know if that's a thing, or it was a myth, or it's something that's still going. Or you run away to, I don't know, some Benedictine or Franciscan order of Christian monks. That is very much a thing, and you can do that. The thing is, the whole running away from anything is not the point of monasticism, or indeed the French Foreign Legion, I'm sure, although that's how it got a lot of recruits, one would imagine. But for a vocational existence, for a life, committing yourself to the practice of in our case, the teachings of the Buddha, it should be because you have made and come to a realization and a decision that in your life you have practiced as far as you can as a layperson, and now want to take it a stage further by fully committing all of your time and energy into the practice of meditation and the attainment, ultimately, of freedom from suffering and nibbana. So it isn't a situation whereby you're having a bad time and I run away, become a monk, and I'm free from suffering. It's very much not that. If you've seen the previous video I have made, I think it gives an outline of the procedure involved in becoming a monk. And it's a similar procedure involved in becoming a nun. So a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni requires some years of living in a monastery, firstly staying in a monastery, then living in a monastery as a layperson for at least a year, and then as a novice monk on 10 precepts for at least 2 years, and then ordination as a fully ordained bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, and then a 5-year period of dependence with your teacher in that same monastery. Before then you can make choices as to where you go. But generally your choice has been to go to that monastery, and this is what you would stick with if you are a person, an individual, a practitioner who likes to live in community. But the initial and the ongoing, and even from, I can tell you from my perspective, the current state of affairs as far as living as a monk is concerned, it is by far to be considered as an easy option to lay life. If you're ever going to run away from anything, you're going to certainly run away from monasticism in the very early stages. It's very hard, it's very difficult. You have, yes, a lot of support if you play by all of the rules. When I say play, that's the wrong word, but you fully adapt the Vinaya, the aspect of the Pali Canon, the Buddha's teachings, the Tripitaka, which is the rules of monasticism, even as a trainee or even as a lay person. You have to adapt this way of behavior. And the dependence on your teachers and the monastery means you are really humbling yourself. It's a practice of humility. So if it's the odd argument at home, or even an unbearable situation at home, running away is never the answer. But what you can do is increase your practice in the lay life. It is a very conducive place to practice Buddhism, because Buddhism practice doesn't require going to church, praying, worshipping, hanging ornaments around the house, or burning any particular smelly incense, or anything strange. You can do it very quietly in your mind. It's inside the practice. And whatever your circumstances are, remember that. You can, via this channel, or going to see monastics for real, take refuge in the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, take the 5 precepts, Panchasila, it's called Tisarana Panchasila in the Pali, as regularly or as occasionally as you wish, to remind yourself that when you want to have the feeling of running away, it is to that refuge, yes, refuge, refugee, refuge of the Buddha, the Dharma and Sangha. So the Buddha, the teacher, okay? The Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha are the monastics, the monks who have given up, not run away from anything, given up their lives, and sometimes very, very nice, comfortable lives in the lay world, to dedicate themselves to the practice of Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, and then help people whom are practicing the same but in lay life. So this is what needs to be remembered. So I've answered these individuals' questions directly, as I try to do with all people's questions. But that was just a general overview for anybody who hasn't asked a question and is thinking of running away to join the monastery. the first thing I would say is sadhu, 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 anumodana. It's a very wholesome aspiration. And excellent, 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 congratulations, that means sadhu, 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 anumodana. So if that's what you want to do, please do it. But it starts with a few days living in a monastery, staying there. They'll only allow you to stay for a few days at first. Then maybe a week, then maybe a month, and then maybe a few months, and it gradually increases. And if that life is for you, it will get you. You will stay with it. That's what happened to me, and I'm still a monk. So that's what I wanted to say on that. Please keep those questions coming in. If you're having these difficult times, but bring your practice into play. This is what the practice is about, understanding the suffering and where it's coming from. So that's just an overview of that general subject matter. So on to the first question. So how do I find the question? Oh, I see. It's a short question. I'm not going to say names today because I don't want to accidentally say someone's real name. I'm not a Buddhist. Happened to watch this video. This is a question. What is it you seek in reality? What is it I seek in reality? Now, I don't think this chap is from India, but often a question that's asked of you in India is, what are you seeking? And I say, well, I'm not seeking anything. This is kind of like you're looking for something. I'm looking for something to just happen. No, really, my answer to that is freedom, my goal, okay? In my practice, what I'm doing, why I'm doing this. People say, you're wearing this cloth, what are you seeking? That's a common question in India. I'm wearing this cloth because I'm a Buddhist monk, practicing Theravada Buddhist monk, and I am, my goal is to be free from suffering in this lifetime. And that is it, it's simple. And the teachings which show us there is nothing to be sought tell us what is the truth. So if anything is to be sought, anything you're seeking, it is the truth. So my other answer could be, what are you seeking? It is the truth. And the truth is very simple with the teachings of the Buddha, and it is the Four Noble Truths. If there is suffering, a cause of suffering, an end of suffering, and the path leading to the end of suffering. And that path being the Noble Eightfold Path of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. I'm no longer seeking that knowledge because I found it. What I'm doing is practicing what it preaches, what it is recommending. I am following that path. So that's the answer to that question, I hope. Sir. And I can't honestly even say whether from that name you're a sir or a madam, so I apologise, but I think so. So thank you for the question. I hope I answered it properly. That question I think would take a whole video. Okay, this question, it's more a statement. Yes. Your statement is, I'm giving up sexual desire. Okay, so this is a statement, and I would say, yes, sadhu, 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 anumodana, which means excellent, 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 congratulations. But I'd be saying that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because I think we'll have to apply this to sensual desire. You do say you're giving up sexual desire, but that comes under the umbrella of sensual desire. So all things that we want, desire, are things we crave for, if you like. So that could be anything from sexual activity to watching a movie or eating a pizza. It is the same, it's the same form of desire, of which the root cause is greed. Of the three root defilements, greed, hatred, and delusion. And delusion we can take to mean misunderstanding, confusion, or ignorance. So it comes under greed. It comes under, so lust gets applied to sexual desire, but it can be lust also for watching a movie or eating a pizza. It's that kind of wanting to satisfy what is insatiable. And it is that the Buddha teaches us, that all these desires are insatiable. Now, if this was a question, and I appreciate, well done what you're trying to do, it is a statement, but I want to comment on your statement. You cannot give up sensual desire or sexual desire. You cannot give these things up. But you can give up what is the fuel to that fire. If you think of all desire as a fire burning away, it doesn't really go out until you have attained to a very high level of enlightenment, attainment. Sensual desire will drop off during stages of meditation in order that you can be free for that time of that sensual desire, that craving. But it's not to say it won't occur and crop up throughout your daily life, ordinarily speaking. Even for monks, desires arise, stay for a while, and pass away. It is the knowing of that impermanence, anicca, that is the comfort that Buddhists who understand that nature of impermanence get. The comfort of knowing that this desire is just that. There's no substance to it. It's a craving. It's something you think will satisfy a need. Not a need in reality. You're not starving. You have no real need to procreate this species. There's plenty of us around already. But we have taught ourselves, we have been taught, we have educated our physical and thinking, our physical bodies and our thinking minds to actions giving us temporary relief from our desires for a short spell of satisfaction. But as we know, shortly after that comes dukkha, which is suffering, which is the result of receiving what we thought we wanted and it not being as satisfactory as we thought it would be, because everything, all conditioned things, are unsatisfactory. So you eat your pizza, but then you either had too much pizza and are fed up with it, or you want more. Neither condition is satisfactory. So think of this desire as a little fire, and it will just keep burning away like a little pilot light, smouldering in the background, and let it stay there. Now, if you want to add fuel to this fire, then you can do that. If you look at the pictures or menus or something of the fast food establishments that are your particular favorite, of course it's going to fuel that desire of hunger, therefore fueling that root cause of greed. And of course there's many things with hearing and seeing and smelling and tasting and touching that can fuel all of these sensual desires. But what we're doing with the practice of meditation is cooling, dampening down these fires of desire, dampening them down eventually to nibbana. Nibbana literally translate as to leave on the side and cool. So they would boil their milk rice in the olden days, and it would be left to nibbana, cool, like this. And this is what we're doing with our desires, letting them cool. And it's a long way to nibbana, so that smouldering will continue. But as long as you don't fuel it, it's just going to smoulder. So by this we guard our senses. We don't suppress the feeling, but we don't add fuel. We guard our senses, like blinkers on a racing horse. They want it to just go forward, so they blinker its peripheral vision, so it races forward. And for us, we're the same. If there's something of an attractive nature that we know will fuel our desires over there, Don't look, don't stare, it's over there. Yes, leave it there. It will only cause you suffering, food or whatever. So well done for your aspiration, and just understand you can reduce that desire by not adding fuel to that fire. I hope that makes sense. And the next question. So I'm just going to sort of say this question a little bit, sum it up a bit. It's again a very regular question about watching the breath. It's a bit boring, they say. People say often, it's a bit boring. I'd rather sit and just watch my thoughts. We need a meditation object that is something we can focus our attention on in order that our thinking can slow down. If we don't use the meditation object, something that's in the Pali language called papancha occurs, which is what's the word? Ruminating, prolific thinking, thinking of one thing leading to another and going on, and then before you know it, you don't know what you were thinking about in the first place. This is papancha. The point of the meditation object is to keep our attention on one thing, which I think boring is the right word. Actually, your word is dull. Dull is a little negative, but it's better than boring, because boring is a whole other subject matter. But yes, it's dull to watch the breath to some extent, but it really isn't if you really get into watching the breath, because the breath in itself has so many depths. And I think yesterday's video about breathing might help with that. Although maybe this question came as a result of that. I can't see that from what I'm looking at. However, keep at it, keep with that meditation object. Now, you're saying, could you just sit without this meditation object? And I assume by that you mean any meditation object, and just watch the thoughts coming and going. Yes, there's a form of meditation called objectless meditation. I think the word is animita meditation. So without signs meditation. Nimitta means signs, means not. So unsigned, without signs. I could be wrong on that word and translation. Regardless of it, it's objectless meditation, meditation without a meditation object. You need to have developed very strong samadhi to practice this. If you haven't already been able to develop very strong samadhi, you will not be able to prevent papancha, prolific thinking, on the thoughts as they arise and pass away. They won't. They will arise, you will get involved and carry on. Like sitting on a railway station, the trains come, the trains go. This is our thoughts. The meditation object is to sit and concentrate on something there on the platform of the railway station. And however many trains come along, you don't get up and get on any trains. The meditation object is just that, it's there on the platform. Without that, the tendency is to get up and get on the train and not just watch them pass by. And once you get on that train, it's on its destination to who knows where. So if it's dull, it's because you're not developing strong enough mindfulness, sati, yet, but you will if you keep at it. And you certainly haven't developed samadhi if dullness even comes into question or is part of your experience. So you need to keep watching the breath, and maybe bring this watching of the breath into more your daily practice, into everyday activities, rather than reserving it for sitting in formal meditation. It should be part of everything you do. Then it becomes automatic, but it also becomes so much more interesting, less dull. So a good question, and you're not alone with this dilemma, but the answer is to keep at it, keep watching the breath. So, next question, if there is one. Hi Ayasma. Hi Ayasma. Hi this person, I learned something today. I thought, what's this hyasma mean? So I googled it. It is the Austrian word for bhikkhu or monk. It's like Bhante. My name is Bhante Dhammarakkhita, bhikkhu, and the Austrians have their own word, which is hyasma, and according to Wikipedia, hyasma is the Austrian word for bhikkhu or Bhante, which is surprising because there's not really an English or another language word. They use Bhante or bhikkhu. I suppose one could say the English word for Bhante is venerable, but this is specifically, according to Wikipedia, a Buddhist monk in Austria. So I'm very happy you must have Buddhist monks and nuns in Austria. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu to those monastics in a country which I'd think monasticism or Buddhism is quite, I don't know, thin on the ground, is it not? But yeah, so thank you for your question, which is, how can a foreign national live in India as a monk? Oh, I see. So, excuse me. How can a foreign national live in India as a monk? I want to say, but it's facetious, the same as you can live anywhere. But no, I imagine you're referring to visas and permissions. So I'm here on an ordinary tourist visa. And it's a multiple entry visa. And that means if I need to go to another country, I can go and come back, or leave the country and come back. They are now freely available again. For the last 2 years, it's been complicated. No need to go into that, that's all in the past. As it stands now, for British citizens, and I can only tell you about that, but I think it's much the same for most of the world, we can get electronic visas, e-visas, quite easily, and you can get them for 30 days, so many months, a year, 5 years. I have a long visa. Every 6 months, 180 days, I have to leave India and return. So for that, I have to hope someone invites me to another country when I can happily go, or my own support system and my monastics here in India can very easily send me somewhere. Nepal is very easy to get to and very cheap to get to from here. In about on the 7th of January, so whenever that is, a couple of weeks' time, the next Uposita, the full moon of January, my 180 days is up, well, the day after. So I will be going to Thailand. I will go from Bangalore straight after we have the Patimokkha, my usual trip to Bangalore on the full moon of January. I then will be going from Bangalore, flying to Bangkok. And from Bangkok, I will get the bus down to Ban Phay, which is the nearest town to my monastery that I spent a lot of time in over the previous 5 years before coming to India, and meet my other, or catch up with my other monastic family in that part of the world, whom I haven't seen for now over 3 years. So I'm looking forward to that as a change of scene. It won't affect this. I will continue to make these videos if you continue to want me to, and there may be a little bit of extra sightseeing involved for you to see. So thank you for your question, and thank you for teaching me the Austrian name for Buddhist monks of Ayasma, and I hope I'm pronouncing it roughly correctly. So there'll be more about my travel plans in future times. And another question, I say this is a statement, and I'm going to try and answer this one as briefly as I can. And I'm smiling. It's from someone who says, "Stop making videos. There are enough monks on YouTube." Well, I quite agree. There are a lot of monks on YouTube. There are also a lot of different perspectives on the same subject matter and the same teachings. There are many more lay people than monks, and many more different varieties and kinds of people than there are monks, not just because of numbers, but because it takes a certain type of person, perhaps, to become a monk. So there can never be as many different kinds of teachers or ways to teach or pass on or share the Dharma from a monastic community as there can be the number of people ready to listen. Now, these videos that I make are not teachings. I'm sharing only my experience. From the tradition I come from, my background, we do not teach the Dharma until you've been a monk for at least 10 years, a Bhikkhu, a fully ordained monk for at least 10 years. And then you get the title Ajahn, which means teacher. However, because I'm asked questions, I answer them from my experience. And I often, you'll hear me say, qualify that by saying, this is only my opinion from my experience. The teacher is the Buddha. And I am just sharing with you, as I don't want to go on to my next question, which I see coming up. Kalyanamita means noble friends. I love, enjoy, want to share with you, my Kalyanamita, people who have the same interests, my perspective and experience of those Buddhist teachings. The other point on that is, I didn't really intend or set out to make these videos, but when by accident I made one, and then there were people, or there was people watching and asking questions and interested, I've just continued, that's all. It's also very much the case, if you look at any other subject matter, there are literally millions of channels for one. You were to Google, for instance, I don't know the name of, say, a computer game or something like that, but if I did think of the name of a computer game, if you were to Google that, not Google it, YouTube search that, there will probably be over 1 million channels about that one computer game. Now, there aren't over 1 million monks about the teachings of the Buddha. The number is very few by comparison. And you can watch on YouTube what you want to. And if you don't like something, you can push a button and they won't send you that kind of stuff again. Or that individual, that channel again. So, the other aspect to that is it getting involved in social media? I don't use any social media other than, if this is social media, this, YouTube. I don't really consider this as, it's quite restricted in terms of how I use it. I use it for listening to whom I consider my teachers, senior monastics who are in different countries around the world, to listen to their talks. And that's all I use it for. And subsequently, in just this recent months, this last few months, 4 months now, it was 4 months exactly around now, I'm sure, that I've been doing this, making these. It takes me so little time. About as long as you've been watching this video, or as long as this video takes when I finished it, that's as long as it takes. I've stopped at this temple that I stop at anyway, on the way, and I've spoken without planning, and there'll be no editing. I push the button and it's there, it's done. If I may take some videos of cows along the way, then that takes no time either, less than 60 seconds post, and that's on there. That's my metta practice, part of my practice of metta, that I enjoy very much, and from the amount of views that those little short videos get, I think other people do too. So I'm very happy to continue doing that, making these videos, and also very happy to receive any criticism or encouragement, positive or negative, about what I am doing. I don't have Facebook, I don't have any social media or even know what those other things are. Yes, I think I have WhatsApp, but this is for my communication only, really, like for texts to the other countries and such like. So this is a fairly, how would you say, it's fairly narrow in its scope. I'm talking about the Dharma, sharing my experiences, and maybe occasionally I will be listening to talks from my own teachers. So I'm not going to stop, I'm afraid, making the videos for that one person, but I do appreciate where you're coming from. I fully understand, because he then sent me another message explaining. So I fully understand, yes, it could be seen, and it is seen, maybe, but I can't comment because I don't listen or watch this commentary or these dialogue. This dialogue is not part of my life. So it doesn't matter what people think. Right view is the Dharma, right intention, and is what I hope I have in the practice of right speech, which is talking to you about the Dharma. So the first 3 points of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view, I really hope I haven't gone against right view by making these videos. My intention is good, and I hope that this is right speech. I'm not speaking out of turn by sharing my experiences, not trying to preach, teach, convert. This isn't the aim at all. So then another question, the final question, back to Kalyanamita and cows, is from my dear friend in Italy. I won't say your name, dear friend, in Italy, who isn't in Italy at all. He's in Australia. I think because I had a short with a cow, titled a short video, that is, Conversation with a Cow. And he's saying, "Ciao, have you run out of friends?" Yes, I have. You know, Kalyanamita means noble friendships, noble friends. When we become monks, or when we really dedicate ourselves to this path, and when we take the precepts, whether it's 5, 8, 10, or the full monastic 227, then you're going to lose a lot of friends. You don't lose them, they're still there, they're still happy, you don't fall out. But even as a practicing Buddhist on 5 precepts, if you look to the West and see the amount of friendships we have, hundreds of friends, all the people in the pub, the club, the restaurants, the social scene you're a part of. Precept number 5, I don't drink anymore. Now yes, you could just go to the pub, the club, the restaurant, the scene, but you probably would stop going after a while if you were just drinking Coca-Cola. From experience, it's not much fun going to the pub when everybody's drinking, so that's a whole lot of friends that you haven't fallen out with. You're just choosing to do something different. But then it develops further. Your interest is really in the truth, the 4 Noble Truths, and to become free from suffering in this lifetime. And through the practice we become disenchanted with many things. Now Sariputta and Moggallana, the first and foremost disciples of the Buddha, were at all these entertainment things going on. I'm not going to say the whole story, it's a big long sutta. And because of their practice, they became disenchanted with, they were sitting there and they came to the realization, what's the point of all this? When we know what it means. We're just fueling that desire. When you know you're just fueling the desire, you become disenchanted. Now, of course, you can't say to your friends, hey, you, friend, we're not going to go to the movies anymore together. You're going to come and sit and meditate with me. They might not be really too keen on that idea. So you allow them to continue. If after some time they see you're practicing well and you're doing so well as a result of it, they will come along, they will join you. or they'll stay doing what they do. So yes, my dear friend from Italy in Australia, I haven't got any friends, except you, of course, and I have acquaintances, and yes, of course, I have some very dear friends, but they're such dear friends, I can probably count them on one hand, and they do not need to be hearing from me every 5 minutes, and me them, or I don't need to be hearing from them. We do not fall out, not just because we don't see each other, but because we do different things. And this is the beauty of this practice, this life. But what we do develop is this Kalyanamita, noble friendships. People whom are of similar mind, wanting to practice the Buddha's teachings and become free from suffering in this lifetime, like you. Whether they're other monks, fellow monastics, my monastic family in Bangalore, my monastic brothers in Thailand, or those back in England in these monasteries. Very, very, very close, more family relationships than friendships. But not so as we're talking to each other. We don't have phone calls. Monastics don't use the phone. We don't talk to each other, or even text each other. It's not necessary. Funnily, it's strange, when we leave a monastery, in Thailand at least anyway, you don't, apart from paying respects to your senior monks, you don't go and say goodbye, or on arrival say hello. You come, you go. It's like that, like passing thoughts. Pay no attention, don't get on that train. You come into the monastery, you leave the monastery. Invisibly, subtly, calmly. Developing this peace, this equanimity. Yes? So, many friends through this medium. People whom are friends, whom are contacting me with questions, making comments, useful questions, useful comments. We're sharing the Dharma with each other. What better friendship is that? A harmless friendship. We're encouraging each other to keep 5 precepts. Well, monastics obviously more, but I'm encouraging everybody to keep 5 precepts. And then for my own encouragement, I have my own brotherhood of monks in Bangalore, where we get together every 15 days for the recitation of our 227 precepts. And this is our encouragement and our support for this life. So actually, I know it was just a sort of a wild out there comment, dear friend, but it was also a very good comment for me to explain that, and it also falls into this other thing about running away. In a way, you change your life a lot when you go into the monastic life, but also as a lay person, just naturally, without any effort, the nature of your friendships will change. And it will be, there's nothing wrong with your current friendships and what those people are doing, but it will be for your benefit and the greater good. You will develop long-lasting, strong friendships with people whom also wish to do no harm and to develop their minds through the practice of meditation and the understanding of the teachings of the Buddha. So with that, I will leave you. I think I've just about kept it around the half-hour mark. I wasn't doing that intentionally, it works out that way. At least I've managed to get it down from a bit longer. I'm not trying to make it short, it's just that if it's too long, it's too long. And it takes a long time for this to go up to YouTube, however that works. So, so just double check, no more questions. We will, one reminder, just one thing, if you do want to take Tisadana Panchasila, make a comment. There's some people already wanting to do that, so I'm either going to do it individually with a video call on WhatsApp, so therefore I will be using WhatsApp, but it's not so much social media, it's a communication form for giving refuge in the Triple Gem and the taking of precepts. Or if there's a few people, I will do it with a Zoom meeting. and I will do it in the time zone that's been suggested so far is 2 p.m. GMT, which is the English time, which would be 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, IST, and whomever fits into that time bracket, please, you would be welcome also if you were interested in doing that, wanted to do that, even just to watch and not do that. Please come and observe. And I will very happily, if people want it, fit into any other time zones. It's done in the universal Buddhist language of Pali, and if you want it also in English as well as Pali, it will be in English as well as Pali. I'm sorry I can't do it in any other languages, but you can find those translations online. So with that, I will say many blessings to you with metta. Sukhi hotu, sukhi hotu, sukhi hotu. Be happy, be happy, be happy. Be well. May your practice be fruitful and enjoyable. Sadhu, 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 Namo Buddhaya.